Hello and welcome to this video on the song Marry You by Bruno Mars. Yeah, the song is in the key of F major, which usually spells disaster for a beginner guitarist because F is one of the hardest chords that you can try when you start playing the guitar. You know, you start off with nice sort of C's and G's and D's, and when you get to F, it's pretty terrifying. I remember when I started playing many years ago, and I came to the F chord and I thought, goodness me, this is a really hard chord. But I'm going to show you a few alternatives. What's really good about this song is that it's only an 8-bar sequence repeated many times. And on the two sheets that I've given you, you've got various ways of playing the tune, all written in tablature. Now, okay, the F chord that we all do is probably this one. You can see that, okay? But in the first sequence, I've thinned it right down to a 2-string version. So if you put your first finger behind the first fret of the B, and your second finger behind the first fret of the E, play just those 2 strings. Okay, it's quite a thin sound, but technically it is a chord, and it is a chord of F. And the way it's written, you've got 2 bars just doing downstrokes. What I suggest you do is to do 2 downstrokes for each of those notes that are written. So you'll go for the F, so that's the 2 bars of F. Now, just move that up to the 3rd fret, do the same thing for the G M, not said G M, but said G minor. The next chord is B flat, same thing on the 6th fret. And back to the F. So your 8-bar sequence with just that 2-string chord sounds like this. Now you might want to try, instead of using 2 fingers, barring or flattening the first finger across the 2 strings, because later on, if you want to do some of the more advanced F chords, you will need to do that anyway. So let's do the same thing but having our finger flat. Okay, so that's the first sequence, sequence 1. Sequence 2, same thing but using 3 strings. So our chord's going to grow from a 2-string to a 3-string. Again, you could put your first finger behind the first fret of the 2nd string, second finger behind the first fret of the 1st string. This time you'll need to put your 3rd finger behind the 2nd fret of the G string. Play 3 strings, that's chord of F. Its proper name is F major, we just tend to call it F. The G minor is 3rd fret of the G, 3rd fret of the B, 3rd fret of the E. And you could use first finger on the 3rd string, second finger on the 2nd string, 3rd finger on the 1st string, like that. And the B flat chord, exactly the same shape, because it's a B flat major, its full title, same shape as the F but on frets 6 and 7. So you can play it like this. Sounds a bit fuller, doesn't it? Because you've got 3 notes and not 2, and it's a genuine chord. The 2-string chords are not really full chord that they will do, but these are proper chords. And again, you could, instead of using 3 fingers, you could flatten your first finger over 2 strings, 1st fret, put your 2nd finger on the G string for the F, and the B flat, and the G minor. You could flatten, or bar, correct word, bar your finger across the 3 strings behind the 3rd fret. So let's have a look at that. So it's still sequence 2, 3-string chord. Okay, sequence 3, you haven't really got a choice here. You've got to have your finger flat across 2 strings, 1st fret. 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the G, and we're going to grow to a 4-string version of the chord, 3rd finger behind the 3rd fret of the D. I mean, it's quite a natural sort of shape. This is the F chord that most people learn when they first start to do an F chord, and it is pretty tricky because you've got to get the first finger flat and the other 2 arched and get a clean sound out of all 4 strings. Same shape on the 6th fret for B flat major. Now the G minor, you bar 3 strings 3rd fret and you put your 3rd finger behind the 5th fret of the D. So let's have a listen to this now. It's sounding a bit fuller, isn't it? Got 4 strings now. It's in 4/4 time, so you're counting 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, to give you the feel of it, or if you want to just count the main numbers, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. If you want to get a feel of the song, it's a beautiful night, we're looking for something dumb to do. Hey baby, I think I want to marry you. That's how it fits, and as I say, it literally is the same sequence repeated loads and loads of times. Can we improve upon that? We can. If you're a junior school person, that's probably as much as you'd manage, and in fact I'd be surprised if you could do that. If you can do that, you'll have done really well. I would imagine you could definitely do the first one. Possibly sequence 2 is the one for you, but if you can do that, great. Let's see if we can beef it up. There's our F major chord, the one we've just done, the 4th string. Put your 3rd finger over on the 5th string, same fret, 3rd fret, and put the little finger where the 3rd finger was. So now you can play 5 strings. When you come up to G minor, same thing, move your 3rd finger over from the D string to the A string, put the 4th where the 3rd was, and same up here of course, B flat, put your 3rd finger over there on the 8th fret of the A string, little finger on the 8th fret of the D. And you can play 5 strings. Now I should say, somebody asked me this the other day at school, do you play all 5 strings all the while? You probably don't go, it's too much, isn't it? You're probably going to play more the bass strings, I think, you know, like the ones nearer the ceiling. With the odd excursion over onto the more treble strings. And sequence 5 involves a 6-string version of that. Now there's 2 ways of doing this. You could leave it as it is for the 5 string and put your thumb up there on the 1st fret of the E string, the 3rd fret of the E string, and the 6th fret of the E string. So you can play it like this. In a kind of a grabbing way, I often do that. But of course you may have seen people doing this, which is the full bar. The 1st finger flat across the 1st fret, the other 3 fingers where they were, and the G minor, 3rd fret barring, 5th fret of the A, 5th fret of the D, and the B flat, 6th fret barring, same as the F. So 2nd finger on the 7th fret of the G, 3rd finger on the 8th fret of the A, 4th finger on the 8th fret of the D. So then you've got to get your, drop your shoulder, drop your wrist, get the thing round and squeeze hard. Don't worry about the squeaky noises as you change chord. That's one of the big problems when you record the guitar, it's the sort of squeaks as you do that, as you move your hand up and down. I've tried for years to try and get rid of that, but actually some people quite like that. If you listen to lots of professional recordings of acoustic guitar, you will hear that squeaking noise, and it's all part and parcel of the guitar, so it's quite nice in a way. So those are the first 5 sequences, and as you can see your chord grow from 2 string to a 3 string to a 4 string to a 5 string to a 6 string, and obviously the sound gets bigger and bigger and it gets harder and harder. We're going to come back to something called accents in a minute. Let's look at the 2nd page and let's have a think about some of the other sequences. Now on page 2 you've got sequence 6 picking the same shapes as in sequence 3. So in sequence 3 you've got this 4-string version. Instead of playing the chords, playing all the strings at the same time, you do this. And what you're doing there, literally holding the chord down and picking the D string, G string, B string, E string, B string, G string. So it's down towards the floor and back up. Do it all in downstrokes, the plectrum. Now if you want to the timing, on the record it's played on a marimba sound on the keyboard, so you can sort of hear it's like a vibes kind of sound on the keyboard. How do you get the timing? What I often say to people is to count 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. That's count up to 3 4 times, then count up to 2 twice. And every time you say the number 1 is where you actually play the string. So you got like this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. It gives us a really strong accent. By the way, that accent, if you can put that into your strumming, that sounds good as well. So in fact you've got your 16 strums for the 2 bars, but in those 16 strums you've got 6 times where you punch it a bit harder. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, da, 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 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. And if you can do that, it sounds really good, doesn't it? So that's sequence 6, picking. There's a wedding bells kind of riff that's played on a keyboard, so I'm playing a bell sound. If you've got a guitar like mine, you could play it up there, frets 13, 14 and 15, but probably for you it'd be more comfortable to play it an octave lower here. And it's literally the same pattern of 4 notes, all on the beat, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's played 8 times the same. And the notes are first fret of the E, first fret of the B. You could play that separately or you could bar it. Third fret of the B, second fret of the G. So use your third finger on the B, second finger on the G, and your first finger on the E. I would personally bar it, and I would personally leave my finger down, but that's quite hard to do. You might need to relax your finger in between the notes. Hey baby, I think I wanna marry you. So that's sequence 7, the wedding bells, and as I say, it's the same thing played 8 times. Sequence 8 is probably a fairly easy kind of bass version, and what you've got is the first fret of the lowest E string, followed by the 3rd fret of the lowest E string, followed by the 6th fret of the lowest E string, with that accent I mentioned. And you could go. Sounds quite nice. What that is, do you remember the 6-string version of the chord? Where it's just taking that 6th string and playing that on its own. And you can see the little kind of upturned V's, those are the accents. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. And sequence 9 is probably the easiest of anything to play out of all these sequences. So if you're an absolute beginner or you're struggling, you might want to try this one first. And what it is what we've just done with quite a few notes taken out. In fact, you only play the accented notes. So in each 2-bar pattern, you only play 6 notes. Hopefully you can hear me tapping my foot on my footstool here. So to do it again, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Just use the same finger, bring the first finger up. And get hold of the track, practice along with it. As I say, it literally is that same 8-bar sequence. I don't know how many times, but it's a lot. You get loads of chances to try your various versions out. whether it's a 2-string chord, 3, 4, 5 or 6, or you're playing the picking, or the wedding bells, or the simple bass lines. Loads of things to try there. Really brilliant song, and hopefully it will cure you of your fear of the key of F major, which is, you know, it's quite a scary key on the guitar. It's probably worth mentioning that when you do the chords, supposing it's only a 2-string chord, make sure you only play, it says on the sheet, make sure you only play the strings that are fretted, that have fingers on, if you like. So if you've got a 2-string chord, with your right hand, make sure you only play those 2 strings. If it's a 3-string chord, make sure you only play 3. If you've got a 3-string chord and you play all 6, you're going to have a horrid noise. So the only time you can play all 6 strings is if you're holding down a 6-string chord. I'm sure you get the idea. Anyway, hope you found that interesting, and I'll see you next time.